Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Monday, March 16th, 2015. And this is Live Talk. I'm Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Kip Stube.
And tonight on Live Talk, we are going to talk about the deadly violence at Chikurubi Maximum Prison.
To join the discussion, phone us directly at this number 001-202-619-2077 and we'll call you back.
And as usual, Live Talk goes out to Zimbabwe on our 909 medium wave frequency and on the 4930-5940 and 15455 kilohertz shortwave Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m.
On the internet, you can find us at www.voandebele.com, www.voashonak.com, and www.voazimbabwe.com.
Once again, thanks for joining us. You are listening to Studio 7 Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are going to talk about the deadly food riot at Chikurubi Maximum Prison.
Prison officials are reporting that 2 more prisoners have died from injuries sustained in a prison riot at Chikurubi Maximum Prison, bringing the death toll to 5.
At least 27 prisoners and several prison guards were injured in a 3-hour-long riot on Friday, apparently sparked by anger over poor food. And of course, in 2013, there were reports that 100 prisoners were dying in the prisons every year due to food shortages owing to malnutrition-related illnesses induced by food shortages and natural causes.
What are your views on this issue? If you wish to join the discussion right now, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back. That number again, 001-202-619-2077. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp. Our number is 1-202-465-0318. Ye so kunjalo mfowethu
onguka Gibbs nasi tauti tinge tichitarisa nezvenyaya yakaitika kuchikurubi kuti kuzwa kuti nhasi kwafa vanhu vairi shira kuti vanhu vashanu vafa kubva musi wechishanu pakatanga ivo vasungwa kuratidzira kuchikurubi vachiti ivo chikafu chavari kudya changa chisina kumira zvakanaka. Asi nyaya yekuchikurubi nemamwe majeri ari munyika inyaya yagara ichitaurwa kwenguva yakareba kuti zvinhu zvinenge zvisina kumira zvakanaka. Hongu iwo majeri aya ane mapurazi aanawo, asi hapana chiri kubuda kubva kumapurazi ikoko. Nekudaro nyange vatinotaura navo vabuda majeri macho vari kutaura kuti zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka. Gibbs
ye kunjalo-ke Blessing Zulu. Zulu kandaba lingalithola njani lapho likhona khona ngapho ngemakhaya thina ngapha hayi siyaphila ngokwamagama. Ye udaba esixoxa ngalo namhlanje-ke sikhangela ngokusentilongweni khona ngale Chikurubi Maximum Prison. Sizwile ukuthi-ke ngolwesihlanu kube lokuxokozela okuthize okuchiye umuntu oyedwa efile khona ngale kuzobuya ogadi bagijima bagcwala yonke indawo, kodwa-ke abazange befe kangako. Kodwa-ke lamhla futhi sizwile njalo Blessing ukuthi kulabantu ababili abafileyo. Nxa sokuhluzisiswa konke lokho kukanyazaniswa kulabantu abahlanu abafileyo 5. So-ke siyakhumbula Zulu kandaba-ke ngo-2003 13 ngiyaxolisa kulesikhathi lapho ngani kwasekuhlupha eZimbabwe ukuthi nxa usufika khona ngale-ke entilongweni uthola ukuthi akula kudla. Kodwa-ke kwafa abantu abayi-100. Sifuna ukuzwa ukuthi abantu kambe bathini ngodaba lolu. Khathesi abantu bebeqokozela ngoba ukudla kwangikhona kuthiwa akuhle kangako. Akunika nje okuyiphisanyana okuncane nje bathi nansi isitshwala enxebathele lokuyikhabitshana nje okuthize. Kuthiwa indumba zangikhona ezinye nxa ukuthi bekunike zona azilamafutha azilalutho kodwa zilezibungu lokho lonto amawivile. So ngani kahle bomfowethu.
And I think Gibbs, we have our first guest, and our first guest is the executive director of the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, Miss Irene Petras. Miss Petras, good evening.
Good evening, Blessing.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Gibbs, you can start the ball rolling.
Ms. Petras, what are you getting right now? What are the reports coming from Chikurubi Maximum Prison right now?
Well, thank you, Gibbs. We've basically received the same information that most people have read in the newspapers. We're still trying to get further information about what has happened, but it's obvious that there were disturbances and that there were injuries, and some deaths have also been reported. So that's the information that we're getting now, and we want to try and see if we can get further information to see how we can assist in this matter.
But let's talk about the country's constitution. Do these prisoners have any rights at all?
Well, of course, prisoners have got rights. Even those who have been convicted and are serving sentences have rights which are protected in terms of the Constitution. So any prisoner has got the right to be treated with dignity. They've got the right to not be subjected to inhuman and degrading treatment. And in terms also of other legislation which relates directly to prisons, there are specific standards on what prisoners should be given in terms of food and water, clothing, and a whole lot of other things. So just because they are convicted and they're serving sentences doesn't mean that those rights will fall away, and they have to be respected.
Thank you so much kuna vachangoti bata sekutaura kuri kuita mzvare Petrus panyaya ye vanhu vasungwa zviri kudzikana munhu akasungwa pasi pebumbiro remutemo azvirevo kuti unoenda mujeri wonzi wakufa nenzara, hauchapfeke zvinhu zvakanaka, utano hwako hauna kumira zvakanaka. Vanhu nyangwe vari majeri vane kodzero dzavo dzinofanira kunge dzichiremekedzwa pasi pebumbiro remutemo. Tinombozwa zvichinzi vamwe varohwa hazvifaniri kunge zvichiitika. Nekudaro ndo zvimwe zvinozokonzera kuti paite matambudziko seataa kusangana nawo ekuti vanhu vanopedzisira vakuratidzira gap.
Kufaka kuhle ke uMiss Petrus lapha nxa ikhuluma sibili zulu uthi nxa ukuthi isibotshwa kumele uthole ukudla, ukudla lezigqoko kumele ugqoke futhi. Kube sokubuya lokutshaywa uthi khonokho akuvunyelwa kusekelo sombuso welizwe. Uthi ke nxa ungatshaya umuntu usukhahlameza phela amalungelo akhe. So ke mphinde mbuyele futhi ke ku Petrus mbuzo ukuthi Miss Petrus, we know that Zimbabwe is a signatory to some international protocols, pertaining to human rights. So in this case, which protocol specifically can we say Zimbabwe is actually violated, and is there any kind of action that can be taken against the country?
Of this, the government is a signatory to international instruments like the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, and also on regional instruments like the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. And the rights which are protected in those instruments are very similar to those rights which are in the Constitution. So they have got the obligation to protect the rights and to do what they can to make sure that prisoners are treated with dignity, and to make sure that they themselves and the state actors who are part of the prison service don't do anything to violate those rights. Now, I know every state institution is suffering from a lack of resources, but that cannot be an excuse for saying that prisoners cannot be fed properly, prisoners cannot be clothed properly, and prisoners cannot be treated like human beings.
Thank you so much, Ms. Petrus. Like she's saying, ngibvunza mubvunzo yekuti Zimbabwe ine zvibvumirano zvayakanyorana nedzimwe nyika dziri musangano reAfrican Union pamwe nedziri muUnited Nations. Paine zvibvumirano zvekuti kodzero dzevanhu dzinofanira kunge dzichiremekedzwa. Kana tichitaura kodzero dzevanhu tiri kutaurawo nekodzero dzevasungwa. Nekudaro kana zvakadai zvaakuitika zvekuti vanhu vanenge vofa nenzara vari mumajeri kutyora kodzero dzavo, hazvina basa kuti hurumende inenge ichiti hatina mari.
Ufaka kuhle ke Blessing. Sizwile lapha ke unkosazana Petrus ekhuluma njalo sithi eleZimbabwe lilakho ukuthi lasayina lokuthiwa ngama-international covenants. Nxa sikhangela ke uthi lokho okwe-international community ngaba yi-political rights, ama-human rights, abantu ukuthi akumelanga umuntu akhahlamezwe. So eleZimbabwe lalobelana lamanye ukuthi kungabi khona khonokho. Kuzobuya futhi le-African Charter la yakukhuluma ukuthi khonokho ukuthi amalungelo abantu kumele akhangelwe ngonanzelelo, kumele ngathi Zimbabwe iyakulandela. Kodwa ke ngizabuza uPetrus njalo ngombuzo ukuthi Miss Petrus, But some people would say these are prisoners. Some of them are on death row, you know, and we know what it means. What do you think?
Well, I don't think that we can say that everyone. You know, these are prisoners who are serving a sentence, and part of the whole process of being incarcerated and serving the sentence is to rehabilitate people. So now, if you treat people like they are less than human beings, what happens to them when they come out of prison? Those are the same people who have to be reintegrated into society and who will have learned from how they were treated in prison. So the worse that you treat people, the worse that they will be when they come out. They won't be able to reintegrate, and they will feel that the way they've been treated is the way that they can treat other people. So there's a very clear obligation on the state to put in place those programs to rehabilitate, allow people to serve their sentence, but just because they're serving a sentence doesn't mean that those other rights fall away. So they have to be allowed and to have their rights protected just like any other person.
Thank you so much. Sekutaura kuri kuita muzvari Petrus vari kuti kana waenda kujeri zvinenge zvichida kuti urehabilitate ukwanise kuzodzokera kuti ugare nevamwe zvakanaka mumaraini, asi ukaenda ukadzoka ikoko wanhini hardcore, zvinochinetsa manje kuti kana wadzoka kujeri ungochikwanisa kuti uchidyidzana nevamwe nekuti zvaunenge waona kujeri handi zvinhu zviri kukuvaka asi kuti zviri kutoita kuti uwedzere unini. Gibbs
uchaya kahle ke blessing sibili lapho Irene uPetrus uthi nxa ukuthi uya ungayentolongweni ngale kumele bekukhankanya ukuthi wenzani, bakulungise njalo ube ngumuntu othi ungaphenduka ebantwini ube phela lawe uzwe usungani susebantwini, labantu bekubone engani ngumuntu ofundileyo ukuthi khona ngale entolongweni kade kumele ulungiswe phela. So uthi manje ukuthi ungakwenzi njalo nxa umuntu engaphenduka abuyele ebantwini sengani engase isigebenga esinzima ulakho ukuthi phela afundise abanye futhi ukuthi babe isigebenga. So ngiyamuzwa lapha yakhona.
Maybe the last question, since we just have you for about 10 minutes, let's talk about those who have their relatives who died. How can they seek a legal recourse, Ms. Petrus?
Yes, I think they're free to approach either Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights or any lawyer of their choice, so that there can be investigations on exactly what happened, and then depending on those investigations, there could be a claim against the state for that loss of life. But obviously there will be a need to get the information to see exactly what happened before those legal processes can be put into place.
Thank you so much, Gibbs. I don't know if
just one last question. We just want to clarify something here. How many prisoners died in 2013? Is it 100?
I'm not sure offhand the exact number, but there were, I think, a number of prisoners who did pass away because of the conditions in prisons at the time. But it had improved markedly in the last year or two because there was a lot of input from business, from the private sector, from non-governmental organizations, working with the state, working with the prison service to try and assist in improving the conditions. And I think that is what is important. The prison officials, they must be able to be open to seek assistance from different sectors so that together we can try and improve the situation in the prisons and prevent this kind of thing from happening again.
Ms. Petrus, once again, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much, Blessing and Gibbs.
Thank you so much.
And we now have Mr. Morgan Komichi. He was once detained at Chikurubi maximum prison. And we also have Mr. Clement Moyo, a human rights activist. Maybe let's start with you, Mr. Komichi. Mr. Komichi, are you at all surprised by this riot at Chikurubi on Friday?
Otherwise, this riot chikaenge yatononoka. Nekuti namo inowanikwa pachikurubi yakaipa. Well back 2013 pandakapedza 100 days ndirimo. chikafu chaenedza kuwana kwakusina muriwo kana kukauya muriwo wegreen wamashizha weyo unenge usina mafuta unenge une salt chete haudyi ukadya muriwoyo waita mudumbu kuti wairwadziwa mudumbu zvakaipisisa maimwa tii isina shuga tii isina mukaka tii iyai kuti washawa kuti itii kana kuti chini maipiwa poriji isina shuga zvakare sakana chinhu zvayo kana yauya saka chikafu chacho chakagara chakatoshata as far back as 2013 and of course pane masingle connections aimbobatsira but aiti kana akabatsira nemafuta aingouya for 1 week the next 4 months zose dzine musiya zvisingambotoiti zvokuti kana pane vaya vanga vasingawani chikafu kubva kunze vaya vanenge vakaonda zvinochisa kuona kana kutarisa fukagoni and vanenge vachirwara nezvirwere zvemukondombera vaya vanotira worse because vanenge vachitofanira kunge vachidya zvinhu zviri nutritious but chikafu chinenge chakatoshatisa zvakaipisisa zvokuti hazvimbotogoni and nhamo iri muchikurubhi nhamo yakaipa zvikuru and vanga vasina futi hembe chaidzo vanenge mahembe dzekupfeka vanenge vasina vamwe vanga vatogadzira hembe dzemachira kuti unenge une hembe yako yomucheka woita chigamba cheblanket kuti and dzinenge dzakadambuka and nhamo yacho haiite zvachose and that place haisi nzvimbo yekugara zvokuti hurumende kuchengeta vanhu muya kwanoda kukachengeta semhuka and munhu anogara muya anokubuda ava neattitude yekuti anenge asiri munhu anofanira kunge achikorekitika ba because nhamo yechikafu, nhamo yemachira, nhamo yehembe, magariro acho aitika imomo anenge asingaiti.
Vakomi timbokubatai muromo
inoinda dzinotyisa.
Tiri kudzoka kwamuri, but just to summarize what he's saying, he was detained there for 100 years and for 100 days, and he's essentially saying that this riot on Friday, he's actually surprised that it took this long, because in 2013, when he was there, the situation was bad. No food, blankets, clothes, there's a lot of lice. And, he says it's inhabitable. Even animals cannot survive in the environment at Chikurubi Maximum Prison.
Yes, siyamuzwa kakhulu lapha-ke umnumzana uMorgan Nkomichi owake wangena khonangale Chikurubi ngo-2013 uthi okungale kuyesabeka uyamangala ukuthi kambe bekusenzwa kuyini ukuthi abantu laba bengenza abakwenzileyo njalo ukuthi abantu bangikhona bacakile ngokuzwa kwami ukuthi balemzimba emincane njalo kugcwele intwala. So sibuye kuwe baba Clement Moyo, ubona njani udaba lolu?
Baba Moyo?
Baba Moyo khona?
Problem ekhona lapha ukuthi unanzelelo abalungelo labantu luvele kalukho ngitsho. Akuveleka kucatshangala ngalo, especially nxa ngasho ukuthi umuntu osejele. Sesikubonela lokho. Ngo-2007 2008 baningi abantu abafayo bebulawa indlala. Into emangalisayo ukuthi iZimbabwe ilelendene kakhulu. Ukuthi abaprison la asetshenziswa ukulima, bafuya inkomo, bafuya imbuzi. Into lezi ezilapho zithathwe zibulawele bona badle. Kodwa into esithakala ukuthi abantu balemkhuhlane njengabophelagra isikevi. Ungabuza unesi kumbe umuntu okumedicine owakufunda ofundileyo ofundileyo ngezemedicine boyelaphayo. Uzakutshela ukuthi into lezi yena uzazi zibale emaphepheni ukuthi zikhona emhlabeni ngazibo usezigalisela emajele eZimbabwe. Kambe into bani yona leyo ukuthi size sibe umkhosi womhlaba wonke? Ungayisikho ukuthi kasilazo izinto zokusebenza silazo. Kuyikuthi kulokuzenzisa okukhona phakathi kwabantu bethu bethatha izinto bezenza endingayisizo njalo bengafuna ukuphatha abantu kuhle. Umuntu lobe wonile ungumuntu kuphela, ngase gwetshiwe ngumuntu kaNkulunkulu kuphela. Le mvume ukuthatha imphefumulo yakhe ngoNkulunkulu la nyanga ngabe usumgolo ukuthi uzambulala ugcine kuhle kuze befika la lokuthi abulawo. Akunamvume umhlukuluza ngendlela engayisiyo ngokuhlukulezile kakhulu ngalelo cala lokungena emakhosi lapho wagwetshwa kumbuyisikhiwo esizani kagcinwe kuphela ngendlela yona leyo akumele agcinwe ngayo kuze kufike isikhathi sakhe sokuthi uyafa ezifela kumbe kugwetshelwa ukubulawa. But lapho esikubonayo ukuthi akusikho ngiyesho ukuthi into ekhulunywa khathesi nechikuru prison ayisiyo eyenzakale khona okwenzakale khona ngabe kuningi kakhulu esingasozivele sesifasa kwazi indlela bephatha ngayo abantu leziphatha ngayo lephatha ngayo umhlaba ukwazisa nezinto ezenzakala kiyo iyafika.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu Baba Moyo. So Mr. Moyo is saying generally Zimbabwe does not respect people's rights. You know, now when you look at the prison life there is very tough, and you can't expect it to respect the prisoners' lives. So now he ends up by saying, you know, at the end of the day, people have got a right to life. And if you're a prisoner, you've got a right to eat, you know. You've got a right to dress, and the Constitution covers you in all those kind of things. So he says issues like pellagra, which is associated with Chikurubi, is not known in many countries, you know. He says Zimbabwe is on the receiving end. It's very sad, according to him.
I think we are now being joined by Chief Edson Chiwota, the director of the Zimbabwe Association for Crime Prevention and Rehabilitation of the Offender, or ZACRO. Chief Chiwota, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Chief Chiwota?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Now, Chief Chiwota, we are talking about the riots at Chikurubi. We understand up to now 5 people have died so far, and 27 were injured, including prisoners and some security guards. Are you surprised by what happened on Friday, these riots?
I think some of these things are not so much a surprise because there are a number of factors around it which then makes it not so much surprising. The situation is deteriorated a long time ago and it's never been better. So for us to get a surprise from a deteriorating economy, that means we are not sure of ourselves. The thing has been going on for some time, and it is difficult when people speak and speak as if there is anything that makes news out of it. But we only speak in terms of sympathy. There are people who are against it.
Mr. Chiwota, Chief Chiwota, if you can move to another location, we can hardly hear you. We have a bad connection.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can go ahead.
I think the biggest challenge is people are aware of where our economy is. And it is not exceptional in the prison. And these are the challenges that are going on because if people are sleeping without a meal at their own houses, what do they expect about prison?
Chief Chiwota, I think we might have to call you back because we have a bad connection. But of course, Chief Chiwota is saying he's not surprised by what happened.
Yes.
And he's saying this has been happening for a long time. I mean, the state of prisons has been really bad for years now. So no one should be surprised. And I mean, also judging from the fact that the economy is not doing very well. So such things happen. Gibbs, I think we have messages on WhatsApp and Facebook. Maybe let's start with Facebook.
Now, on Facebook, we've got so many messages. Blessing. One of them is from Brilliant Tawanda Moyo, who writes, they give the prisoners cabbage and beans full of weevils. Shame on you, Mr. President. And then we've got Wilpet, who writes, this government should be serious about some of these issues. Tichawana also writes, a human being is a second creature and his or her life should be preserved at all times, but it's different in our case in our beautiful country. Some of these guys in prison are in this predicament because of the free flow of the economy. Then we've got another message from Simali Bafana, who writes, every human being has got his or her rights, which must be respected despite their offenses. Some are just suffering while their cases are just hanging. Then I've got another message from Augustine Macheza, who writes, this is typically the Zimbabwean standard of living. And then Dion says, all this is corruption. So let me stop there. Maybe
Maybe
you take
before
it
we go to WhatsApp, we have a caller, Felix. Makadi mkoma Felix.
Tiripo makadiwo.
Aiwa, tiripo zvedu. Muri kuona sei nyaya yekuchikuru B?
Nyaya yekuchikuru B inyaya inosuwisa zvikuru, asi ndati ndimboti endei parutivi nditaurewo rimwe saidi ramanga musina kubata. Revanhu vanongoti ukatarisa muchirungu vanonyora kuti hanzi these criminals must rot in jail. Kuti ngavafire kujeri ikoko. Ndingiri mafungire evanhu chaivo vari panze vasati vasungwa. Vanofunga kuti ivo havafi vakaenda kujeri, but chinhu chinogona kukuendesa kujeri chinhu chidiki diki usingafungiri. Saka vanhu ava tikatarisa futi kubhaibheri pane pakataurwa naJesu kuti vanhu vanofanira kupota vachinoonekwa kumajeri, zvinoratidza kuti Jesu aive nehanya nevanhu vanosungwa vanopara mhosva ivavavo. Handiti? Saka vanhu tinofanira kuti isusu vanhu vari kunzewo tiite rudo. Government yedu iyoyo inoona neattitude yeduwo futi isusu vanhu vari kunze kuti tine zvechokwadi tinoda kuti vanhu ivavo vabatwe zvakanaka. Tine tarisiro yekuti varegere kuita sei kupara mhosva. Then nenyaya yematongerwo enyika zviya zvekuti hanzi munhu kana ari webato rakati ngaaendeswe kujeri zvekuda kumupfidzisa hazvina kunaka zvachose, nekuti vanhu vaya vari kungowandisa nevamwe vasina chekuita kunge vari iko kumajeri ikoko.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru mukoma Felix.
All right.
Of course, what Felix is saying is, people, Zimbabweans in general, must take time to visit those who are in detention and also to give them food. He says that is very important, so that they can be rehabilitated. I think we now have Chief Chiwota back. Now, Chief Chiwota, in terms of, we understand there were some donors who were assisting the prisoners. What's happening with that?
I cannot professor anything around that. I cannot share anything. I think that then it becomes the issue of the department. Because some of these people do it clandestinely without other people's knowledge. And we cannot give a word around that because definitely some of them are not known whether they are giving or they are not.
Let's talk about the prison farms. What's happening? Why is there no food coming from those prison farms?
The challenge is our economy. Our economy is not performing. And when the economy is not performing, it is difficult for the prison because it's a department that is not financially gain. They do not make any income around whatever they do practice. So this is their major challenge, and if they get inputs at a later stage, their planning is also paralyzed. Like this season, they had a number of challenges, including the rainy season was not fair for them. And it compounded a number of problems around their work. So this then becomes an issue in terms of planning around the government. What is it that they have in place in order to cut up?
Chief Chiwota, please do stay on the line. Mr. Komichi and also Mr. Clement Moyo. We will be back in a bit, so please do stay on the line. But for our radio listeners, unfortunately it ends here. But the good news is we are streaming live. So go to www.voazimbabwe.com and press on LiveTalk. This is Blessing Zulu.
Lo mnumzana ke tumsani kuna ngapo ke egoli ubambe ungaindawo mfowethu siyabuya sesiqoka lawe. This is Gibbs Dube in Washington DC. Stay tuned.
Good evening, and for those of you who are just joining us, this is Studio 7 Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about the prison riot at Chikurubi Maximum Prison in Harare. Official reports are indicating that 5 people have died so far. These are prisoners, and of course there are conflicting reports on what exactly transpired. The first reports from Chikurubi were saying that people died after a stampede, but there are now reports that some of the prisoners might have been shot by the prison guards, who actually had to call in the police and the army to assist them after prisoners rioted on Friday. Reports are saying they were not happy with the food that they were being given. Gibbs.
And of course, blessing our guests are Mr. Moken Komichi, who is an ex-detainee at Chikurubi Maximum Prison. We've got Chief Edson Chiwota of the Zimbabwe Association for Crime Prevention and Rehabilitation of the Offender, and Mr. Clement Moyo, who is a human rights activist. If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back. That number again is 001-202-619-2077. Yeah, kunjalo ke mfowethu. Asiqhubeke.
Yeah, and we also have some messages on WhatsApp. Let's quickly read some of those messages. We have Moses, who says, give them adequate food. Please don't treat these people like dogs. Clyde says, even in hospitals, patients are fed with salsa, cabbage, and beans. So what is special about prisoners? If they want 5-star treatment, they shouldn't be in prison in the first place. Brian says, Chikurubi, hell on earth. Eben says, give them good food. They are humans, and correct their bad deeds. That's the purpose of our prisons. Atuo says the government is not doing what is supposed to be done. This is not right. It does not mean that if you are arrested, you should be treated badly. It's actually violating my rights. Evanu. Edmo says we are tired of this lawlessness. Charles says it's unfortunate that our dear friends had died trying to fight for their rights to healthier food. But judging with the current situation here in Zimbabwe, these prisoners are to face the worst as the country braces for a worst drought ever. Elias says authorities must intervene. Blessed says, I think they must provide good food for them. Taurai N says the problem is in our country, we do not consider prisons as correctional centers. Instead, they are more of torture camps. There are very few ex-convicts who can survive for more than 3 years after spending time in these centers. Trino says that shows cowardice of the government officials. They know kuti iwo abasungwi asivane worry. Ino says the government is insensitive to the plight of its citizens.
That's a lot of messages, right?
Indeed.
Silo mnumzana ke uDumsani kwele South Africa lapha sizwe ukuthi uthini. Baba Dumsani kunjani?
Kunjani mfowethu?
Hayi mphilile kunjani khona ngapha?
Ngikhona, hayi ngiyaphila. Kunjani wena?
Hayi kukahle sibili. Ye akutsho ungathini ke ngodaba lo mnumzana?
Ya mina udaba lolo ngiyaluzwa. Liyazisa ubuhlungu kakhulu. Ikakhulu makuthi kuthi esenke kushona. Kwabantu kodwa into mina lapha engani ngimachwari because ukuthi abantu bonke they seem to blaming ama-prison officials no-government ukuthi abantu abatholi ukudla amajere and stuff like that. But emamajere phela sima-feeding point. Yabo? So umuntu mayesejele ungabhekeli ukuthi uzothiwa wena une-right yalo usejele. Mawusane-right ihamba kwakho. Ngoba wena ngeke uyexpect uthi wena ufuna ukuya kudla ipapa nenyama, ufuna ukudla ipapa ngechicken ejele. I-taxpayers money leyo imali engasiza abanye abantu abangasomacriminals. Understand? Khonokho abakuthola okuncane otherwise khonokho ngabe uthole ikhabishi ne-beans nama-weevils lokho it's fine, ukuright uhambelela lokho nakakwenzayo. Remember wena umuntu osechikurupi umuntu just an offender, serious offender. Understand the issue?
Siyawuzwa baba.
Umuntu umuntu ambothiwa i-justice system yamfast-tracka yamlahlela eChikurubi. Unecala elikhulu alenzayo. So ukuthi abe seyafika eChikurubi abe sengofuna ukuthi athi atoyitoyele ukudla mba atoyitoyele amapapa ipapa lelo lokudla lokho imali yomuntu lo emotional futhi ngaphandle understand into engisho hayi ukuthi ngiyasupport ukuthi abantu abanjani ngababula kumbe lokho ngabanjani but ukuthi thiwa bathi bayarayotha lokho esitokisini that's not all.
Kodwa kuphela kukhanya nxa sikhangela isekelo sombuso welizwe siyatsho ukuthi umuntu osentolongweni kumele akhangele okuhle phela ngoba lokho engumuntu.
Yeah, lokho ngiyakwazi njalo angiyikwali but remember vele isekelo sombuso sakona liyawumela sokuthi sibhekele futhi le-taxpayers money hayi ukuthi asibekele umuntu o-emotional imali ekade a-taxpayer. It's not isekelo sombuso lokhu ukuthi kumele sisebenze kuphela masikhuluma ngama-prisoners kumele sisebenze lanjalo ma ukuthi ama-prisoners lokhu efuna ukumosha i-taxpayers money. Yazi into ngisho
hayi siyakuzwa sibili mnumzana Khumalo.
Hayi ukuthi ngifuna ukundole kahle mfethu hayi ukuthi ngithiwa ukubulala right ukubulala ngoba ngazi kuye ukuthi akuvumelekile kodwa kulesi isikhathi sokuthi mina I don't think ukuthi bathe wona amaphoyisa akho namba ama-prison officials athe mase bebona sona itoyi bamana nje avula ngenhlanga kusho ukuthi kube lokulwa okunjani okuthize osingeke kumbe imidia ekukhaze kumbe engeke istate njani ekukhaze but eqinisweni kukhona ukuthi bazamile angeke ngusukele umuntu ngehlamvu umuntu kashona ukuthi bazamile nabo njengabantu wazi kwafika sokuleso simo sokuthi cele setshenziswa inhlamvu lokozele ezothi ucene kusefa abantu yikuba mamabe sebenza inhlamvu njengoba bayala abathi abasebenzisanga inhlamvu kade siyistampito futhi siyazi ubona vele ngeke bazazi iqiniso kanjani abalalo kodwa ukuthi uthatha sinikeza ama-rights ma-prisoners no umuntu lokho one-right is a law abiding citizen umuntu ongasitshela nge-right hayi umuntu lokho o-citizen ku-situation enjengalena yasekhaya akunamali akunakudla akunani ayejele abesiyadwini ufuna ipapa ngenyama hayi lokho akukho lokho.
Khumalo baba sibonge kakhulu sibili
ngiyabonga mntomdala
sibonge kakhulu. So Mr. Khumalo is saying of course, it's every person's right to enjoy all the benefits of being a human being. But when you're behind bars, you're behind bars. He says you cannot be... he says prisons are not fitting centers. No. But he doesn't support the kind of, mistreatment of prisoners. But he says, money can be used for other purposes. Instead of fitting prisoners, they've got cases to answer, So he's not happy about, the blame being shifted to government. Says those people who are in prison are not supposed to be there in the first place.
But still, I think the Constitution protects.
So he said on that particular issue, he says, yes, he agrees that the Constitution stipulates that. But the person who should benefit from the law, mostly, is in terms of the Constitution, is the person who's outside. Not inside.
Of course, we don't agree with Dumisani there because prisoners have got rights that must be respected. Even if you are on death row, you are not denied food. You are given food. Let's go back to Mr. Komichi. Mr. Komichi, apart from food, let's talk about the general treatment of prisoners at Chikurubi Maximum Prison. How is it like?
Treatment.
I mean, by the relationship between the prisoners and the guards, and the prison guards.
Magadi jere mazimambo. Mazishe baba. Saka gadi jere ane right yokungorola munhu kana angaona kuti amukanganisira. Vanogona ngokurola nenzira dzakashata zvikuru zvokuti zvandakawitnesa ini zvandinoona zvandikawitnesa zvokuti vanhu vairohwa kana akawanikwa ane kamhosva kaapara vanofanira kutedzera mutemo we-Prison Act ine maprocedures zokuti kana munhu akapara mhosva anofanira kutongwa opuwa masentensi ake voita sei but ivo havatedzeri Prison Act vanobva vangotora munhu vomurova vanomusungirira necheni dziya vomusungirira vakamuita upside down makumbo ari mudenga vorova pasi petsoka ipapo shamhu dzinogona kusvika kana kuma-100 kana 150 pasi petsoka inonzi falanga saka akasunga kudaro necheni idzodzo munhu anogona kubuda ropa because isimbi to the flesh ka the body the same simbi iye inoshandiswa futi kusunga the next prison haisina kana kusukwa kana kuita sei kureva kuti kana uyu musungwa atanga kurohwa kana anga ari chirwere chemukondombera chinobva chatransfera kuenda kupi kune next prison aya anenge ari mulaini pakurohwa and vanorova zviro zvekuti unonzwa tsitsi kana usina kusimba unotochema kuti iko ndokuranga vaero nokuti Prisons Act ine procedure yekuti kana munhu apara mhosva ipapo unoda kuti mhosva ipi anotongwa nomutemo unenge uripo kana achiwanikwa nemhosva anogona kuwedzerwa mwedzi pamakore akapiwa ipapo kutongana kuti gore anofanira kupiwa kunzi kuti on top of the makore akapiwa nemagistrate unofanira kupiwa extra mwedzi yakamira sei nzira dziri humane but iwo maprison ngazi manje haatedzere mutemo uyoyo anobva atokurova akuabusa and hakuna mhosva inonzi iyi mhosva haina nzira dzekutonga even wani munhu akauraya munhu anotongwa apuwa mutengo wake either life in prison kana kuti whatever 20 years but avanobva kurova zvekuti unowatsitsi ndakawitnessa makona akarohwa and ukaita munyama ukapara mhosva uri munhu wemdc manje ndobonozvona kuti kuna mai akuendwe unorohwa zvekurohwa zvezve because pane mukomana wandinoziva inanga ari mdc tositungidza akarohwa zvekuti aitorohwa zvekuti otherwise why anga ari kumdc.
Tinotenda zvikuru. Komich of course is saying there is a lot of torture. There is this falanga where you are beaten on the soles of your feet. It's actually a form of torture. He says it's common practice in the prisons. Maybe
sikhuluma lo moyo baba moyo sike sizwe lapha uzwele lapha umnumzana ukomich ekhuluma esithi kulabanye phela bachanga phansi kwenyawo umuntu achaye kuze kuzwele sibili ikhona ngale ntolongweni bese kubuya lo mnumzana uDumisani umzwile ekhuluma sibili ngicela ubaphendule khona lapho ukhulume ngakhona kuba
ubaba ukomich ukhuluma into ayibonayo wangena ejele siyakwazi lokho sambala lemaphepheni awumazi mina kodwa-ke ukwangena ejele siyakwazi ukwangena ejele khuluma into ayibonayo ejele sengakali njani lokho vele siyakwazi ukwenzakala ukuthi amaphezulu athotshwe khona phela nxa befuna ukudla ngokubachaya base bevuka ngolalo yabona basekudala-ke lowo msindo lokwenza ukuthi abanye bazibahle ngilesho lokuthi engeke asazi ukuthi iqiniso lakhona liyukuthi khona bona badutshuliwe kodwa sitshelwa kuthiwa usesomarabha kulezi babulawa isitampidi angukholwa-ke mina lokho nawo bese sibuya kubaba omunye okhulumileyo okhuluma ngokuthi umuntu osejele kamelanga ukuthi abe lelungelo lokuphathwa kuhle ngenxa yokuthi usejele hayi isekelo sombuso welizwe sabhalwa ngabantu abasebekubonile ukuphambanisa kokukhona okwenza ukuthi bavikele even umuntu osejele laba bantu olobunotho obukhulu kakhulu bahlakaniphile bayakwazi babuthanisa ingqondo zabo bakubona ukuthi kumele kuvikelwe umuntu osejele umuntu phela lwana lelungelo lempilo njalo nxa lelungelo lempilo kumele aphiwe ilungelo lokudla futhi ukudla okufaneleyo kwakho umzimba wakhe kanti uzamqondisa njani umuntu instead yokuthi baqondisa abantu babalola ukuthi bafunele phasi belolaka babe igebenga okuzwisisileyo basho abantu abakhuluma sibebuyela masinyane ngenxa yokuthi ejele kuvele kuphathana nezimba bafundiswa ubuklini kabafundiswa ukuqonda njengokumele kwenziwe njengakhuluma ngathi mina eZimbabwe silelendene kakhulu eyinye ihle nje kuvela kayisetshenziswa ngenxa yokuthi yapho ukuthunjwa nje ngabanye abantu abangalalalisela lolwazi lokusebenzisa njalo abalala zimali ukuthi bayisebenzise kodwa abantu balazo lezo zimali abangeke bayithola leyo ndawo nakabe sebethunjwa kanti kulani ukuthi uhulumende athathe kambe sibili singabele siziviya ukuthi economy sathi ukusa kwamalanga sisebenzayo imali yakhanda lapha elizweni ikhona ngilesho ukuthi uhulumende lebudget yama-prisons ukuthi angehluleka nje ukuthi athathe ama-input athize ufuye izinkomo ufuye inkukhu ufuye imbuzi into engathiphiwe nje ukufuya amaplazi uhulumende lawo amaningi kakhulu afake imbuzi beningi inkukhu ziyafuyela zifuye badle labo bantu bakankulunkulu bese beqondiswa-ke besidla khonapho baye befunda futhi lezi ndlela zokuzigcina ngasephumejele yabo
hayi siyakuzwa kakhulu baba moyo. So he was actually responding to Mr. Dumisani's remarks that, those people have got a bit of rights, not all the kind of full rights. But Mr. Moyo says they've got all the rights, as per some provisions of the Constitution. He further said that, Zimbabwe has got a lot of land why not grab 1 or 2 pieces and then let those people have some chicken, have some goats, pigs, and other things, to venture into agriculture, and then they feed them. So he says that's a better solution. I guess there were some farms, especially around Chikurubi at one stage. So nobody knows what happened to those farms. So kisike sizwe ke Silomni Mzana umoveli Ngwenya koselupani. Baba Ngwenya ungawutshona njani?
Ngitshona umuntu njani wena?
Hayi siyatshona sibili kakhulu. Kunjani khona phela upani?
Uthisa nduna uyathisa elipani lapha uyathisa uyasiwa.
Ye khuluma baba sibili nantu udaba lwesikurubhi lapho ngathini?
Kodwa lolu ngibona ke liqhubisa abantu amathambo lolu thina kuyasimangalisa ukuthi sisayine isivumelwano esihle constitution yethu sayivotela iyakubala kahle ngabantu bona ukuthi ilungelo labo libe khona nxa usejele ejele esikhathini awungene bonke abantu amacala kanti kunani ukuthi ngivumelana londoda lo osanda ukuphuma ecingweni ukubana njengeZimbabwe ilizwe eliduma ngezimasithi silakho khona lapha ungene inkukhu ukuthi abantu laba bedle kulokuthi ubethengisele kanjani inkinga yalesi abantu abafileyo ngokudla kuphela ukuthi nxa bephekela abantu badla befundiswe ukuthi hayi engabuyeli kulokho kwesinye isikhathi umuntu uyafunda ejele efunde kuye ezidingiswe siyaphambili ekubona ukuthi lokhaya kwawuyikuswela kwezinye izinto kodwa esefunde okuningi abazame bakithi eZimbabwe ukuthi kube kungani kuyatshintsha umzimo wakhona sezwa abanye babebotshiwe ngeminye iminyaka ephuma umuntu sele-diploma isisenze ukuthiyeneyo phandle kanti bona bababulalela n'ingqondo bebabulela ngokudla hayi kubuhlungu lokhu kubuhlungu siliqiniso lonke akuzame ngenye imizamo ukuthi kube ngani kuyayenza amaplazi akhona belime abantu labana ukudla konkana kuthengiswe umoye kube ezidlela inkukhu kuyafuywa lokhana inkukhu befuye ayindi
hayi siyakuzwa sibili baba Ngwenya kodwa ubona zani kungenzakala yini ukuthi ugcine abantu laba sebelima kumbe into ezinjalo?
Izifisa ukuthi kuyenzakale kunjalo asazi ukuthi ikhanda liyabe liwome njani phambili ngokuthi bona babethatha ukuthi halo isithiwe ingcono simenze kanti umuntu uyaqondiswa ngiyadinga indlela zomuntu eqondiswe ukuthi eqonde indlela yakho abanye kuswela phandle ebese thuthela khona bejele yakhona but nxa engafunda umunye uyaphuma phandle eselolwazi ngoba abanye babuya lapha bekwazi ukuthi uqathile kweminyaka saba lenyama nje ukuthi azahambe bephile izikhathi ezinye babuya bele umunye abakwenza emphakathini kodwa beze bebanyithi ukudla bepheka ikhabithi ingani baphekela ingulube sokungabantu abaphilayo bona abantu hawu madoda hayi wawu siyacela ukuthi ilizwe lelo liphakame kube kungani kuyahlonipha ilungelo labantu i-humanitarian isebenzi ihloniphe kwathi ukuthi eJapan bakhuluma ngento ezifana nazo nalezi kungama-disaster wonke kona
hayi siyakuzwa ke eNgwenya baba sibongele kakhulu.
Ngiyabonga la.
Yeah, so according to Mr. Ngwenya, he says it's surprising that Zimbabwe has got a new constitution, but some of the provisions are not applying to prisoners. Yet there's a clause that actually, caters for prisoners' rights. So he says he remembers that some people went to prison. At one stage, we come out with degrees, with diplomas, and so forth. I remember the president is one of them. He came out with some degrees from prison. And then he says, the killing of people's minds while we are inside prison is not good enough. And then lastly, I think he said people are not pigs. People should be taught how to farm. And then they become good people. So then he ended up by saying, there is a disaster management conference that is taking place already in Japan. So this is part of the thing that they should discuss, according to him. Yeah.
Let's bring in Chief Chiwota, who is dealing directly with the prisoners. What is the way forward, Chief Chiwota?
The way forward is the public has to appreciate certain areas where they are supposed to partner the prison department, not just to blame the department, but to also work in hand. And my understanding is that the authorities right now are working flat out to get to the really real issues of what exactly are the problems within the war issue that transpired. So people should need to wait and see the finality that the government that the authorities, in terms of the Department of Prison, will bring out and inform the people. If they are then to criticize, or I think they should be able to do that.
And on the issue of food, and we of course talked about the farmers, the prison farms. Of course, the rains did not bless Zimbabwe that much, and obviously that is out at least for this year. What can ordinary Zimbabweans do? Can they take food to the prisoners? How best do they do it? Those who want to help, how do they work, say, with your organization?
We are free to work with anyone. Like the department itself, it is also free to work with anyone. But the challenge with people is that they continue to play into criminal hands and criminal mentality, where such flexibility is then placed. People tend to do certain things and bring contraband to the institutions, which then becomes difficult in terms of management. I think people should desist from this contraband exercise and do the reality that would help their friends and their relatives who are in prison. The prison department welcomes everyone.
Thank you so much, Chief Chiwota. Of course, he's urging people there not to smuggle drugs and other paraphernalia, to the prisons. You will not be doing anyone anything good there. Tinemwe mtereri ari ku South Africa makadi. Mtivanya. Hello.
Hello.
Munoitwa vani?
Na chao simba zorodze.
Vama zorodze makadi.
Tinosimba munosimba.
Aiwa tiri nani. Nyaya iri mudariro mainzwa vamazorodze ndekusambira zvakaita zvinhu zvakanaka kana kuti manyama amire nerongo ari kuchikurubhi.
Ya nyaya tangoinzwa kuti kwakafa vanhu vanokwana kuita 5. Izvi zvinoratidza kuti pane kusambira zvakanaka kuri kuitika munyika nokuti munhu akasungwa zvireve kuti anofanira kunzi afe. Nyangwe akani 15 years anogona kurarama 15 years izvo ari mujere, but inyaya yekuti kuredusa kungoti zvaanoita asazviite at the second time. Haisi zvinhu zvokuti tingatarisira kuti munhu anganzi afe ikoko nekushaya chikafu kana nekushaya kubatwa zvakanaka. Inyaya yekungoti tireduse kubiwa kana kuti mitemo yechengetedzo munyika kuti vanhu vakwanise kuvharurwa kumajera, zviri kuti vanhu vakwanise kuti vafire ikoko, kunoti vamwe vanhu vakwanisa kutobuda kunze vakatozorarama umwe upenyu hwakatonaka kwabuda mujere imomo.
Ko vamwe vateereri vari kuti aiwa kana watopinda mujeri hapasina zvekuti kodzero dzangu ndokuti ndodyei.
Ya mutemo audaro uda kuti kana munhu achipinda mujera atinoda hapasina kodzero dzangu, nokuti kupinda mujera zvinoti kunourayiwa, nokuti dai vaita kungouraya vaingobata the same time vachinouraya. Vanofanira kuti vachengetedze pakaongororwa, nokuti munhu kusunga zvinoti akunonoshungurudzwa sereki unofanira kudzatizongorarama urimo, kana uchinge wabudawo kana nguva yekuyafa neyamwari yokuti munhu anofira mujeri anongofa pasina kuti aurayiwa nenzara, nokudai pasina nzara kana kubata zvakanaka vangadai vasina kufa.
Aiwa tinotenda zvikuru vamazorodze nekupinda muchirongwa chedu. Of course, Mr. Mazorodze is saying prisoners too have got their rights, and it's not good that we should lose lives as a result of malnutrition. He's saying, if they did not want to keep you alive, they should simply have said soon after being convicted, there is the firing squad and then you are killed, So he's saying the fact that you are in jail, it also means that you can be rehabilitated and be a better person. Yes.
I think we are receiving more messages on Facebook. One of them is from Love Mombetsi, who writes, an ordinary man jailed for housebreaking is feeding on cabbage in jail. Think about Itai Zamara, the only man who managed to shake up ZANU-PF. What is he feeding on? Where is he? Oh, shame. Bring him back. Then we've got Foster Mbawa, who writes, this is Zimbabwe style. Nothing else to do in that country. Then we've got Felix, who writes, anyone can go to prison. It is everybody's interest to have them fully furnished and replenished with food now than later. It benefits the prisoner and community. Then we've got Mafumo who writes, look at some unnecessary fundraising activities that amount to millions of dollars that were done recently. What a total waste of money. That money should have been channeled to solve many problems. Then we've got Moses Nduna who writes, prison is not a good place to be at the moment, especially when the country is facing difficult times like this. How can one expect to get food in prison when the government can hardly pay the prison guards, and when very few can afford 3 meals a day, and when most of them are in prison because they couldn't afford an honest life? Then of course Simbarashe who writes, they deserve that because they are criminals. Then I think, let me stop at another message that was sent by Wellington, who says, all Zimbabweans must get together and demonstrate against this failed government whenever they are. Enough is enough. We're tired of this. So, well, that is his opinion. Or maybe I can put in Chabuda. Chabuda has got another opinion here. He says to be an inmate in Zimbabwe does not mean you have no right to controlled freedom, health access, healthy food, etc. What is happening in Zimbabwe jails is unfortunate. The situation is worse for women as there are no sanitary facilities at all. That's really something else.
Rakatidzokere kuna vakomichi muri mujeri vanhu vaimbofa here zvaifamba sei?
Vanhu vaifa vaibatwa dzinongwa nedhairiya inga isinganzwisisiki. Dhairiya iyi yaitika nekakubata ukapona ngone lake. Chaikonzera dhairiya zvinhu zvakasiyana siyana itsvina yaiwanikwa irimo munhu iri munzvimbo imomo. Nokuti vanhu pavaidyira pacho pane tsvina, and matoilets anoshandiswa acho anenge ari aya kuti munoungana kana muri mose maundu makaita kana muri 400 mune mushandisa matoilets iwawo anenge akashata zvokushata zviya because matoilets awa haasina sinhingiri system kugweja yai. Saka inogona kuzara and dzimwe nguva paita inonzi back flow yai. Iye kuti kana pakaita back flow aibva atunuka achienda panovata vanhu nepanoswera vanhu vachifamba paya paita imwe kunokashata zvikuru. Saka and kuti nemvura yakaipa chikuru haisiri mvura inouya continuously, inenge ichiita zvichidirwa muzvigubhu, ichidirwa zvimugubhu. Hapana mvura yekuti mvura inenge yakanaka, imvura inotouya mupuhwa mvura yemaresheni. Yeresheni, saka mvura iyi inenge isinganambotsitsva zvayo. So inzvimbo inoita dhairiya, like I know kuti but dhairiya yakatora vanhu vakati wandei, although vai number can't confirm it, but figure yakabuda ndevanhu 100 vakafa nedhairiya.
Tinotenda zvikuru vakomichi. Rega titore muteereri wekupedzisira, mukoma Joyo makadii?
Tiripo makati zveni.
Tiripo, nyaya iri mudariro mainzwa?
Ya ndainzwa nayo iri mudariro. Ii zvirikushungurudza chaizvo tocha kuti ichiri kuitika muno muZimbabwe umani. Saka hurumende iri kuitawo sei panhau iyo tokuitawo kuti vanhu vari kufa zvakanyanya kumajeri kudei vaita kuti vagadzirisa nhau iyo bhozi iri kutishungurudza zvakanyanya chaizvo.
Aiwa, vari kuti hanzi hakuna mari.
Ko zvinoita seiko vanhu vachifa kudai izvozvo? Vanhu vari kudya zvinhu zvisina utano. Ichiri kuitika muhurumende yedu.
Aiwa, ndiwo mubvunzo watinawo tese iwoyo. Mukoma Joe, tinokutendai nekupinda muchirongwa chedu. Of course, Joel, like most callers, is saying the government must do something, but unfortunately, time is not our best ally, and we want to thank our guests this evening, Ms. Irene Petras, Executive Director, Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, Mr. Morgan Komichi, ex-detainee, and Chief Edson Chiwota, Zimbabwe Association for Crime Prevention and Rehabilitation of the Offender, or ZACRO, and human rights activist Clement Moyo. Of course, we also want to thank our listeners, our viewers, and our team behind the scenes, our producers and engineers. Signing off, this is yours truly, Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Gibbs Dube saying good night, Zimbabwe.